the late start to the stream. Just a few technical issues. But we are now on again, and it's TD obviously once again like normal, and we don't have the sun god with me today, we have the simp god of Spark. So hello Spark.
Not sure how to respond to that, but great to see you on the stream nonetheless. Lovely to see you too. Yeah, I'm good. Had a nice sort of week off celebrating Valentine's Day. I'm sure the jokes are incoming, but eating plenty of pancakes as it's Pancake Day. But yeah, apart from that, it's all good. And as we see, a reversing it for a Mayo, which is not something you'd expect someone to do during qualifying, but
it happens.
Yep.
Imola this week, which is a hard track, but we'll take you through a lap, so take it away for Spark.
So we're just seeing Small Smiley come through now, and this is a track where you really have to be careful with how much curves you take. You'll see a lot of speed bumps on the inside, and as you'll see coming through into the first sequence of corners, the 3-turn chicane that was put in after 1994, there you go. See how careful he's having to be as soon as he goes in on corner entry, because as soon as you touch those speed bumps, they're going to send you way off balance through turns 4 and 5. Now coming down to the toes of hairpin at turn 6, it's a 24.6 for a first sector, so not too bad. Drops down to 3rd and up to 4th. Oh, and he's lost it, and that is something that I don't imagine was planned for the Alfa Romeo, but I think that certainly puts a halt to Country at the moment. I suppose they'll take it quite steadily through here. Straight onto deflated. Go back to the house. It takes a little bit of grass going into that left. Takes a little bit of grass going through that left-hander there as he comes into Agua Minerale. Drops down to 4th and taking the line very well there. It's one of those awkward corners where you really have to be careful on throttle. Hello Rids, how are you doing? Now into the Charles Leclerc chicane, and unlike Leclerc, he doesn't bin it and he keeps the car pointing the right way. But you have to be very careful on exit though with how much throttle you put on. We're coming down into the last 2 corners now, which are downhill left-handers, so you've got to get the braking absolutely right. And through onto the straight line stretch now. Opens the DRS zone, only one DRS zone on this track, so it's going to be hard to overtake, and Deflated Wee goes into 2nd place.
Well done. Standings, that's what I need to get up. Last week we was at Belgium, and it was a very good race. I think we had a bit of... Did we have wet weather? No, but we had very good overtaking and a general entertaining race. 1010 came on top for his 2nd win of the season. John in 3rd, second, Mr. Wiggles in 4th, 3rd, and that guy in 4th. So that means 1010 extended his championship lead to 89 points over John on 81 points, so the gap is 8 points. Mr. Wiggles on 73, so 16 points behind, and that guy in 4th on 43, so a bit further back. So the top 3 kind of running away a little bit for the time being. In the Constructors, Williams leading the way by 37 points, McLaren in 3rd, behind by 49 points, Alpine behind by 69 points on 63, and you can see all these by clicking that link. That'll take you to the standings.
You think at the moment with no assists is becoming a 3-horse championship, because the top 3, as you can tell, with 1010, Wiggles and John, are all being very strong in terms of space. Whenever the race has been commentated on, those three have always been there, but Tencent goes wide, but he's got a pole position for now, which shouldn't affect his time right now. It's not unlike the real event at Imola. There isn't a sprint for this one. I think the next sprint, if I'm right, TD, is next weekend at the Miami Grand Prix.
Well, Miami next weekend it's Kota next weekend. But yeah, Miami is the next sprint. We haven't got a sprint on this Imola race. Obviously, at the start of the season, we had the random wheel, and it decided that Miami was being a sprint race rather than Imola. So that's why we haven't got one today. But anyway, on Imola, Irish J is on his lap and he's done a 24.6 through the third sector, which is quite good. Through the Lando corner, I am calling it, where I know he's been struggling slightly, but he navigated it very nicely. Up to the end
very
of sector
tidy,
2.
that Red Bull.
Yeah,
very
it does.
tidy that, but it locks up a little bit going into the chicane. That would have lost him a little bit of time. Normally you want to attack the yellow part of the corner so quickly, but that Red Bull coming down into the second last two sequence of corners, overall it looks relatively steady. It's not going to be a pole position time, I feel. However, it should be one that will see him safely through at least.
There we go.
And that's P3 for the Red Bull.
I am just a magician.
I'm not going to argue with that, mate. I'm not going to argue with
that. Hello Tenten, hello Majestic, hello Novatech, hello Deton, hello Demon, hello Joseph, and hello John. Hello Mids. I got through everyone eventually.
So we see plenty of drivers coming out the pit lane now to ideally set about 2 lap times in just to get a banker in just in case anything goes wrong with their main one. It's a very tricky one because this is not a track where you save up a lot of ERS. I mean, you may get a little bit occasionally through, but lap by lap when you're not using overtake, but it's a lot less than what you'd normally expect. So DRS is useful here, not just for helping you overtake another car, but in particular in this track to save energy. So qualifying position is going to make the difference here. If anyone can get away from the DRS zone, then they should have a lot of this race in the bag.
Mr. Wiggles is on a flying lap on the mediums, and that could potentially keep him close to near the bottom as he is on mediums, so it's going to be close for Mr. Wiggles, I reckon. But it has looked like a tidy lap so far. To be NDOs and goes 6th fastest. And on
there's a second between.
I reckon that's fine.
There's a second between him and the cut-off point, which is the 17.8 set by Greg. So if he's done that lap on medium tyres, he should be safe going into the next qualifying session. The only one who's not to set a time yet is TRC Deton, who is just coming through sector 1 now, and he's taking that corner very gingerly, it has to be said. Still trying to get used to these. It's a 24/7 for a first sector, so it's not a bad effort. Not too shabby. I know he's been struggling a little bit at the back, so it's always good to see him do well in these qualifying sessions. And again, he's been a little bit hesitant on corner entry, so that is going to cost him a little bit of time. But coming down into Agua Minerale, but getting on those speed bumps, just as I said, that's not good for car balance. And with that, he's lost quite a few tenths there. For example, he's 6 tenths down on what Mr. Wiggles managed on the medium tyre. So still a lot of time to find for that Red Bull. As you see him round off the final corner. What does he do as he comes across the line, and he's missed the cut-off point. So that's a 1:18 flat, and that's not good for Red Bull, who could be facing elimination from this qualifying round.
That's a bit of a...
It's not. It's a tricky one to manage, isn't it?
It is a really tricky one.
Richie goes to 14th with his time. We've obviously got
Ooh,
Colucci.
Padge spinning at the hairpin. He has got time to get round again. It's just whether he's got the fuel and the ARS, but that's going to be a bit annoying for Padge.
He's trying to keep it sensible, but he's got to get on with it.
And Sammy's just done exactly the same as Padge, spinning at Tosa. I know we're trying corner now. I completely forgot what it was.
To be fair, I do love tracks like this where you actually have corner names. I don't know about you, but if you go to a track like Miami where you've got like turn 19, turn 6, turn 7, it's really boring, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be, but this track is just iconic.
Yeah. We saw some
Greg's
brilliant battles in
invalidated.
real life F1.
Greg is invalidated, and I don't know whether he'll be able to get back round.
Yeah, he's backed off. It's going to be very touch and go. I don't think he's going to have the ERS to complete another lap either.
A lot of people have backed off at the minute. That guy goes to 7th.
Going to be touch and go with the McLaren. Actually, he might just make it.
I think he's... Well, it's going to be close whether he gets over. Or
He's just made it.
Samit is out. Deaton isn't on a push lap, I don't think. That might be Deaton out. Padge is on another push lap. But there's been quite a few mistakes at the end of this qualifying session, which has made it easier for the...
It's a mistake-prone track, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
see, Ritz knows what I'm talking about with the corner names. He knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
so I'm watching Greg at the moment. He's just about 10th up in his best. How's Padge doing? He's a 10th down on his best, so that's not good for him.
And he hasn't got the ERS, so he's going to be losing time down to the Vaxel 1 and 2.
Yeah, he's finished.
It's just whether it has a big improvement, but he's certainly losing time to the line. And yeah, he can't improve. So that is Padge out. And that is certainly not what the AlphaTauris wanted. But Greg is coming to the line.
Greg didn't have the best third sector, but he comes across the line. And he's out.
There he is. And Richie is a lucky boy.
Yeah. Richie is definitely lucky. So we've got both of the AlphaTauris out, with an Aston, a McLaren, and a Red Bull. Imagine that in real life Formula 1. That would be so weird.
I mean, seeing a Williams on the top would be very weird as well. Session really, we don't know who's sandbagging, but Trenton is on top. Smaller Smile in P2, Jerdis P3, Ross in P4, and Mr. Wiggles in P5. And going out is the debutant of EMR Cash? I don't know how you want to say it. Cash. There's lots of different things to say it.
I'm sorry if we butchered your name, by the way.
Sammy in P18, Greg in P17, and Deaton in P16. Nearly finished.
But is it? It depends whether the Italians would class your pizza as pizza. Where'd you get it?
I got it from Morrison's.
Morrison's. Okay, so what you got is a pie with cheese and tomato on it.
I do always have a pizza Deaton. It's pizza on a Tuesday every week.
You can't beat it.
Anyway, off food. John
and
invalidates.
Off to... Yep. I was just about to say that, took the words right out of my mouth.
It's like what I did earlier. Deflated on a lap anyway.
Bit of a late exit from him there. It's a little bit tardy. However, as he comes through the next corner. Takes probably a bit too much curb. However, the Haas is looking good right now. He's got the McLaren to come up against. Oh, it's a little bit wide going through Agua Minerale, but it still looks reasonably tidy. To 50.9, it's a very good second sector, and he takes plenty of curb through there. That's a very confident line that he's taking, and the McLaren's still ahead, so obviously he'll get round to start his next lap, but we are focusing on the Haas at the moment. As he goes wide through the first left-hander, then onto the next one, it should set up a really good exit coming along here. With a couple of tenths lost through that last sequence of corners, it's going to be a 16.4 for Deflated Wee. That's the benchmark.
Definitely a solid banker lap.
Oh, 59 from Mr. Wiggles.
Oh, very nice.
Wiggling his way into pole position there.
Lovely, brilliant. That's like a Sun God joke, that.
He will be impressed.
10 on a good lap. 50.6 through the middle sector, so he's 3 tenths up on Deflated at the minute. So that'll currently put him P2.
If he keeps this last sequence of corners, he should be able to match Mr. Wiggles as well. He has a much better line than what Deflated Wee did. Williams comes across the line, and let's see what the Flying Scotsman can do for a time. Oh, he's 5 thousandths behind. That is so close.
And that is what we like to see. We like to see a close qualifying.
50.8 so far for John as he comes across the line himself. 16.4, so just behind Deflated Wee. And I expected him to be a little bit further up. He has shown some really good pace prior to this round. Maybe it just wasn't the best run.
Ooh,
And Joseph Hales now goes fastest. The times are tumbling right now, and we love to see it.
It looked like Joseph did a double warm-up with his tyres being on 2 laps, so that might be the way to go.
Yeah, looks like it. So mind you, if you could get your tyres to at least like 80 degrees, then you should be fine. And it's not, you usually get to about half of that, but it's not too tricky to pull off, so you think why a double lap would be necessary. However, it seems to be working if that's the case.
I can't exactly repeat what Deflated said, but
It's very choice words, we shall say.
Deflated said his lap was rubbish, basically.
Yeah, something along those lines, but you always get another run later. A smaller Smiley goes 9th with a 1 minute 17 dead. Who else have we got across the line? I think John should be coming to the pits now, as will...
Which is going off the track there.
That was in Tosa, wasn't it?
Not quite in Tosa, actually. It was in Variante Villeneuve. You see? Anyway, Tamino on the lap on the medium tyres, and he's in the Ferrari, and as you saw by the Go Live notification, the home of Ferrari, Italy. And I don't think we've got Monza on the calendar this year, I don't think. So this is the only Italy race we've got this year.
It would be wrong to not have a race in Italy.
We had to have at least one.
Yeah. Yeah, we're having 3 races in the USA this year. I don't really know how to feel about it, because the prices just for getting to the event are just like, I mean, they're extortionate.
Tamino is on a very good lap at the minute. He were only 10th down on 10-10 through the middle sector, and he's on the medium tyres. So
Yeah, this
Tamino could keep
run.
this up. He's going to be top 10 possibly.
Oh, I think it'll be definitely high, at least top 10 with this as he comes across the line. He goes 4th with that.
16-2.
Very impressive.
That's a very impressive
He could be
lap.
a contender for pole position here. Medium tyres, brilliant stuff.
Only just over 3 tenths slower than Joseph on the mediums is extremely impressive, and I've seen through Tamino's time trial times he is rapid on this track.
Depends how much you sweat more than most.
John is starting his lap then in the McLaren, second in the championship, going through the Tamburello chicane into another chicane through sector 1, and going through sector 1 is a 24.5, so it's a 10th down on Tamino at the minute, but a 24.5 is a very good first sector, so isn't going bad for John at the moment. I think he's a little bit under pressure in 9th, however it's 6/10 to smaller Smiley, but it definitely needs a bit of improvement, I would say.
It's only a 10th up on his best though. I mean, but then again, that's enough to get you up to at least P6 as Wiggles improves on his time yet again, 15.6. As we focus on the McLaren now, as it comes down into the last sequence of corners. He's just on the track, upshifts early to 5th. So yeah, I think he's being quite cautious just to make sure the lap goes in. Comes across the line, 16.2, so strong lap.
I still feel like he might be under a little bit of pressure though, to be honest.
Yeah, to be 6/10 off.
You've got Deflated, Ross, Prev, Smaller. All very impressive drivers who could go above John. So I think John is under a little bit of pressure. Hello, Sun God.
This is Sun God. How you doing, mate? Good to see you as always.
Is it? It's never good to see Sun God.
Oh, leave him alone. It's fun. High value.
Yeah, true. Colucci then, through the first sector. Taking quite a lot of curb going through the Villeneuve chicane. So may have lost a bit of time. Definitely needs some improvement if he wants to get to Q2 like his teammate, and getting a big wobble there through Piratella and through Aqua Minerale now, which is an extremely tricky corner. And he is only slightly up on his lap time at the minute, which isn't ideal for Colucci. And some more wheel spin, even in 5th gear, isn't ideal. He has got an Alpine in front of him, which won't be... Oh, and he goes for a spin there, out of... That's a 1. So that is Colucci's lap over, and I'm not sure whether he's got time for another lap.
He's coming in, so he's chancing it. He'll have just time,
but he's going to get held up by his teammate, I think. No. He has just about got enough time, so we may see another lap from Colucci.
Time for making a mistake, was it?
No, definitely not. Richie then, I think, is coming to the end of his lap. In the Haas. To the line he goes. He made a mistake through Villeneuve chicane on his first lap. Oh no, we've got the stupid glitch, I think. It said he was on a lap, because I don't think he actually improved. Anyways.
I thought I saw on screen it was 1 minute 19, so I think he's improved a touch.
Oh, right,
however,
okay. I might be wrong.
He's got to save all the energy in the world if he's going to get another crack at this. And Colucci now is just coming back out of the pits alongside his teammate in the Ferrari. So
they've definitely got time to get safe. Yeah.
Yeah,
both got time to get round. Flew to the lines, improves by 2/10, but isn't quite enough to get into Q3 at the minute. His hit has invalidated, so we'll need to try and save as much ERS as possible. Trev is on a lap, a 10th down in the first sector. Isn't
Deflated Wee goes 4th, that pushes John to 8th.
1010 has retired in the pit lane on a 15.9, so hoping no one massively improves. Trev through the middle sector, oh, the chicane very nicely, but runs very wide. That curb is very nasty and it can send you off quite far, as it's shown by Prev through the Rivazza 1 and Rivazza 2. To the line then, can Prev improve to go ahead of Smaller Smiley? And he does just. Smaller Smiley is going to be starting a lap. So that is definitely Prev under at least some pressure, I think.
Yeah, and John's come back out for a lap as well. So it has us Tamino.
That guy is on a lap, so that guy might also be a little bit under pressure. Evening, Goldilocks.
Oh, Yep. How you doing, Goldilocks? And thank you for your sponsorship last week. It was greatly appreciated.
I was literally just about to say that. Well, you can just read my mind, can't you, Spark?
Well, to be fair, when you eat pizza on the daily, I'm not exactly. You don't have to be a mind reader to figure out what you're eating. So.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, might have to concede that one. As we're going through with that guy, he hasn't had the tidiest first sector, so he's going to be under pressure to make sure he stays in the top 10. What does he do? Oh, he's 2/10 down.
Yeah.
So the Williams
When he invalidates.
has invalidated as well, so that's not going to be. Prev is not going to be able to improve. What was Smiley doing?
I didn't see his sector time, but I imagine if it's been a tidy lap, it could be improving through the final corner then.
Definitely looks like a timed run. What does the Alfa Romeo do as he comes across them?
Oh.
What happened there?
Well, I think he just span himself over the line, which isn't very sensible, as Tamino goes fastest with a 15.3. But he's
there's the benchmark,
not very sensible from smaller. But luckily for Prev, Colucci is in the pits, Smaller Smiley has finished, Hissy isn't improving. So Prev is just through, luckily for him.
Yeah, but the skin of his teeth. John through as well.
Yeah, he's backed off.
Timed run. No need for him to push. But it looks like Tamino could be in prime position to take pole position, because that is a psychotically brilliant time.
We're going to get some rain in Q3.
That'll spice us up. And I think Deflated agrees with me with how psychotic his lap time was.
Anyways, Tamino, as you said, in P1. Mr. Wiggles P2, Joseph Hales P3, Top Gun P4, and Deflated in P5. And the 5 drivers going out are Richie, Colucci, Flew, Hissy, and Smaller Smiley, just by, do some maths, 7/100ths of a second. That had to make me think here.
Think?
Yeah, definitely made me think. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what other people have done. Obviously, we don't know setups, and we can't see what setups people have chosen. But certainly, it could quite easily make the grid mixed up.
And that's what we all like to see, a mixed up grid.
Indeed. Take us through 10:10's lap then. He's going to set the provisional lap time poll for Q3, so take us through, Spark.
Absolutely. So now with us and everything deployed, you're going to have to brake so much earlier than usual to get through these tricky corners of the Imola circuit as it comes down to turn 1. Brakes just after the 100-meter board. As you can see just how gingerly he's taking that corner with the reduced grip being on that wet weather track. Even though it's intermediate weather, there's still areas to push, and it goes down into 5th gear. Keeping your car during high gear tonight is usually a good thing around this track, because it helps cancel out any wheel spin. It helps you get the traction that you need. Which, speaking of which, we're going up to Agua Minerale over this sweeping left-hander here, and that is going to be very tricky in the wet conditions. In fact, it's tricky enough in the dry as it is. It's very good lap so far from 10:10. It's going to be a case of loading up your car's worth of fuel. As you can see there, it goes very wide off the left-hander. It struggles with the exit, losing the back end somewhat, but it comes down into the Charles Leclerc chicane, keeps it very steady on that Williams as it comes down into the end of the lap. This off-camber left-hander coming up here It goes very wide, taking a little bit of curve, but is just about the ideal apex coming into the first left-hander and then into the second. Then you sprint all the way to the end of the lap. He comes through, and the eventual benchmark is a 24.4.
That looks like a tidy lap for most of it, so that is going to be quite hard to beat, I'd say. John going a 24.8. Top Gun with a 25.2. Let's see what Tamino's doing. 25.3 for Tamino. So you could be right, Spark, unless there was a big mistake from Tamino. Tamino could just be running a dry setup. Deflated 25.3. IIRL must have invalidated. Same with Mr. Wiggles. Trev has invalidated as well. And Joseph Hales is on his lap in the Alpine. 27.0, so I think he's 3 tenths down on 10 at the minute. So I think that shows, without the mistake that 10 made through Aqua Minerale, that is a stonking lap.
Oh, he's taking it so careful through Agua Minerale, and even though he didn't lose the back end as badly, he really compromised his entry speed coming into that sequence of corners. However, it has given him a much steadier run than it has for 10, as now the Alpine comes down to the last 2 corners just after the Charles Leclerc chicane, keeps it in 7th just to give him that little bit of extra engine braking to get the car slowed down. However, he doesn't upshift to 5th, he just keeps it in 4th to get as much traction as possible. The Alpine goes 3rd with that time, about a 10th away from John, but still decent place on the grid so far.
Yeah, solid lap there by the Alpine, and that'll definitely give him some confidence. IIRL has invalidated once again. Mr. Wiggles comes to line, does a 25.1. And with it being rainy, it's definitely a lot more easier to invalidate through this track. It is hard to keep it on the track anyway, but this conditions are extremely tricky and make it hard to keep it on the track.
Yeah, I've just been on track with Prev's lap, and he got a massive load of oversteer from coming out of the final corner, and that's put him 9th now with a 16.4. So, as you were saying, it's definitely struggling out there, even though even with the light rain, you're still able to get something of a dry or racing line, as it were, through doing all of these laps on track. But yeah, it's still looking tricky at the moment, and with 6 minutes to go left in Q3, let's see what other people do. It looks like everyone's fueled their cars up long just to find out where the grip is. And just say that, 10 improves with a 23.8.
That's 10 for you. Putting his stomp on as deflated a second up on his lap time. I'll put him 2nd at the minute.
So you can take away his slot on the grid, but you can't take away his freedom.
IIRL goes 2nd fastest now, not invalidating his lap time, deflated with a big snap through the final corner. Goes 3rd.
Oh, and then Tamino's done a 26.6 for a first sector in the Ferrari. He is looking quick, so I could be wrong about my whole thing about him running a dry setup. It could just be an absolute speed demon around this track.
It does look to be lightening up rain, but I don't think it's going to be dry enough for the dry tyres.
Unless you're Jenson Button, you'd struggle to make that work, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
but
I'm
Joe
not
Hales
Jenson
might
Button,
be taking
definitely.
a risk.
This looks like a very solid lap time for Tamino. Joseph Hales has put on the soft tyres, but it doesn't look to be the best conditions at the minute. Tamino then through the final 2 Rivazzas.
You locked up a little bit there, coming out of the first Ravazza, but this should be a good lap nonetheless. It puts him on top, but it could have been faster, I feel.
It could have been, but that also could be showing that the track conditions are definitely getting faster. As Tamino set his lap time a good couple of minutes after 10:10, so we could be seeing a faster track, and it could be who was last on track for the final pole position shootout.
Doesn't look like it's raining much at all, is it?
It isn't at the minute. Oh, and Top Gun matching Tamino in the first sector. So Top Gun on a very good lap in the Aston Martin reserving today.
And Prev goes 5th with his time with a 24.7. Looks so on edge going through the left-hander into Agua Minerale.
Keeps it very nicely, I'd say. This looks
Yeah,
like a
you've got
good
to be
lap
so
so
careful
far.
there, though.
1.1 seconds up on his lap time.
This
So
is
that'd
looking
put
good.
him,
This could be for pole.
I'll put him third at the minute. It all just depends on what his final sector is like. Going down to Vivatsa now, keeping it in 7th. Down to 4th. Very nicely through there. And to the second part. Doesn't get much of a snap.
No, it's looking good. He goes second time. Oh, that was a hard one, wasn't it?
That was a good lap. And I apologise if there was a mic problem. I hope it's sorted now. If you all just want to let me know if it's been sorted. But that is a good lap by Top Gun. Yeah, it's better now.
2 minutes to go.
Cheers,
Let's see who. 2 minutes to go. Let's see who else is on track. So Wiggles is on a timed run. I think John, 10:10, and Top Gun are all out on track as well. I think 10:10 is he's invalidated his time, but he's going for another run now. Yeah, he is.
So 10:10 can get 2 runs in. Oh, Mr. Wiggles, 26.3 in the first sector. That is 3/10 up on Tamino. So he's getting quicker. And I'm not sure whether Tamino's going to get out now. He is coming out of the pits, but he's going to be very close. Spark, if you want to just have a quick watch of Tamino, it's going to be very close to him whether he can get out. And
He's going to be too late. He's going to be too late.
Iros J's going out, and I think Iros J is definitely too late. But we're close to Tamino. Mr. Wiggles 1.7 seconds up on his lap time now. And that is going to give him pole position by a mile of a minute. To the final 2 corners now. What can the Mercedes driver do? Top Gun has retired in the pit lane. And where can Mr. Wiggles go then? He had a good middle sector and first sector to the line, and he does a 22.9. Wow. And that is the benchmark. And what can the other people do? 10:10 is on a lap. He's currently 3/10 up on his lap time at the minute. So I'll put him ahead of Tamino, but not ahead of Mr. Wiggles at the minute. But he has got time for another lap. Bit of traffic on his lap time may have affected him a little bit. Through the final corner then. What can the championship leader do? No DRS of course. What weather? To the line. And he does go second fastest. I imagine 10:10 is going straight on to another lap.
Tamino's not going to make it.
Tamino's got 4 seconds.
He's just coming through the last corner now. 4 seconds.
Yeah, he's not made it.
And that's it. He's out.
John just missed out on the line to go for the second lap, but it's John in P2. Tamino guaranteed no higher than P4. That guy is on a lap now. Unless Mr. Wiggles is on another lap. Mr. Wiggles isn't on another lap. That guy is the first on the lap time, and he is 9/10 up on his lap time at the minute. Oh, and just invalidates there. Well. Just invalidates through Variante Alta. And that is definitely his qualifying's over. And he needs to be careful not to block his teammate here. 10:10 is nearly 6/10 up on his lap time. That's what he's
doing. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, he gets up on his out of the way very nicely. But 10:10 is 6/10 up on his lap time. And this is going to put him on pole by a good few tenths at the minute. So 10:10 then through the final 2 corners. Where will he go? Can he get above Mr. Wiggles nicely through the final corner on the traction to the line? And he does.
And it's pole.
3/10 of a second to 10:10. But what can the others
Oh,
do?
and Deflated Wee's lost
Oh,
it.
deflated wee. We just
Oh.
caught that on board.
What a shame. So it looks like you're right. The last person at the last minute pulled it out of the bag.
I'm just
and
a
with
mind
that beautifully...
reader.
You are just a mind reader, mate. I mean, how do you do it? How do you do it? So here we have the top 10. We got 10-10, who takes pole position in the Williams. Mr. Wiggles second in the Mercedes. John third in the McLaren. Joseph Hales fourth in Alpine. Tomino fifth for Ferrari, who'll be disappointed with that. Top Gun sixth for Aston. Iros J seventh for Red Bull. Deflated eighth for Haas. Prev NL is ninth for Mercedes. And that guy invalidates his lap time to come through as 10th in the Williams.
Oh, deflated was 1.3 seconds up on his lap time.
I think he'll be feeling quite deflated after that one.
Oh, there we go.
Tim,
there it is again.
You will be
There it is again.
impressed.
Yeah, that's a come, didn't it?
If they will probably want to kill me after making that joke.
I can have a breather now.
Demon's a fan. Demon's a fan.
Tim isn't impressed. I can have a break. Got very out of breath doing that qualifying.
Can you remember to do the try for the
Oh,
last 2 weeks? It's a good time to segue into the start. We've got about 15 seconds to go now until the start. Do you want to take this away, TD?
Yeah, I will do. I've just finished my drink, so I'll take it away. 10-10 on pole then, from what I remember. That's the only thing. As we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights in Imola, and they are out very, very quickly. And 10-10 has got another good start. And John is trying to get alongside him once again. 10-10 then looks to be in the lead going into turn 1. John looks to be inside of 10-10 again. We quite got to get the moves on. Wiggles is off, and he's going to be losing places. Oh, and it looks like the Mercedes is also around in the background. John is up into P2. Tomino's into P3. Joseph is into P4 and deflated into P5. And other than Prev going round at turn 3, it looks like to be a rather clean start. And Deflated Wee is all over the back of Joseph once again. And as we saw from last week, these two could put on a show. And I hope for the same this week. But what a start 10-10's got.
Exactly, and hopefully Joseph won't get Lewis Hamiltoned.
Hopefully not, no. Hopefully not.
No. See, a lot of people starting on the hard tyres at the moment, but that was a horrible start for Mr. Wiggles, who was sent off into the gravel there. And look at the lead that 10-10 has built already, with Tomino about 3/10 behind Don John in the McLaren. Joseph Hales 4th. Deflated Wee right on the back, with Iros J as well in 6th position. And Smaller Smiley has already got a time penalty for cutting the corner. Cachet is dropped back into last. And Prevanel also at the back as well in the Mercedes. Iros J has passed Deflated Wee. So positions are changing already.
In the pits.
I think he's retired.
Yeah, he has. Otherwise, like you say, 10-10 with the best start possible.
So we're already one car down, and looking behind, still 1.2 seconds that Williams has got over the McLaren, and he's going to need that, especially coming into the next lap, because that's when DRS activates, as we know. Looks like the race is forecasted to rain, so we see everybody apart from Smaller Smiley starting on the hard compound tyres to make sure they goes wide. And it looks like Joseph Hales goes a little bit wide in the Alpine. Iros Shea behind him as well. Deflated Wee not too far behind either. So it looks like the field is starting to even out. However, it still remains tantalisingly close, at least between the top 8, as we come down to lap 3.
Trev forgot his setup. There's always wasn't a one, isn't there? Oh, and John and Tamino. Tamino getting ahead of John. And as you said, he was very close behind. And that is now Tamino up into P2. Can he catch up to 10-10?
Well, we're going to wait and find out. If he's in the DRS zone by the end of this lap, then I should help him stave off the McLaren. It just depends, because this is one of those... Usually the habit is when everyone uses energy, they use it a lot of it in their first 2 laps to try and build
Joseph side by side. IIRL down the inside. Very good overtake there. Lovely move by IIRL.
Very good move.
And we've seen a couple of good moves by IIRL this season, and he's adding that to his collection. Up into P4 for the Red Bull. And that was a lovely shot that we could see there, and I wish we could have more of that camera. Oh, and Joseph seems to be struggling on his traction here, and I think if he didn't have the DRS off IIRL, it could have been very vulnerable to a deflated wheel here.
IIRL looks the most vulnerable one at the moment, but it looks like he's got a brilliant exit coming out of that final corner. Now he's going to be under pressure from the Haas of deflated Wii and the Mercedes and Mr. Wiggles, who's already lost so much time. Going to be eager to make up for it here as it goes round to the outside of the Haas, but
Joseph and IIRL. Oh, IIRL's on the curbs. Deflated Wii trying to come through. Mr. Wiggles on a big snap. Deflated's going through on IIRL. Joseph Hales has got through. Deflated around the outside. Oh, IIRL's on the gravel.
IIRL's off.
And that is IIRL down to 8th place, and he's lost out on 4 positions there.
That was close racing, especially on the third lap of all times. You'd think it's the last few, but Joseph Hales holds out brilliant lead to stay ahead. And honestly, I thought there was going to be a collision there. Well done to everybody there just for keeping it relatively clean, as Deflated Wii gets another brilliant exit out of the Agua Minerale. And like you said, TD, looks like the Alpine is struggling for a bit of traction, as you just see it again.
Could see Joseph vulnerable to the Haas driver here. Struggling on traction, maybe just colder tyres, or just not sticking with the setup on race fuel. But Deflated Wii now trying to catch up to Joseph with the DRS, possibly some ERS deflated to the inside of Joseph. And he gets the move done going into the Tamburello chicane, and that is
Mr. Wiggles all over the back of him though.
Yep, Mr. Wiggles all on the back of him.
Into Variante Villeneuve.
Can't get the move done for the time being.
I'll tell you what, drivers from 4th to 7th are all virtually nose to tail with each other. Yellow's in sector 1 and 2, so somebody may have gone off there.
Wiggles down the inside of Joseph, doing a move that IIRL just did, but just about managed to get it done before him. And yes, a lovely move once again.
Yep.
Seeing some...
You can see there, Deflated had a horrible corner through Agua Minerale, so he's going to be on the back foot now to defend against the Mercedes, who is trying to make up for lost ground at the moment, as the gap between the leaders has come down to under a second. So Tamino definitely on the charge with 10-10, who currently leading this championship and is currently in prime position to score top, but still a long way to go for this Grand Prix. And what can Wiggles do with the Haas ahead of him? He's 6/10 behind, so it's going to be touch and go to see whether he can actually overtake. But Top Gun behind Maverick as well. Sorry, Maverick. I've still got Top Gun on my mind for some reason. But in any case,
Top Gun Maverick there, didn't you? Oh, Deflate! Big wiggle there. Now
Wiggles is
off. And Wiggles is down to P7 now.
Lost even more time. No, these guys are giving us a great show.
This is very entertaining at the minute, and it's showing that mistakes are creeping in. And look who has put that back into the fold. IIRL in P8 is in the DRS of Mr. Wiggles. Oh, and Deflated Wii, another snapper oversteer. And that gives a chance to Joseph, but Tamino has spun.
Tamino's gone off.
Out of the
he's round again.
And he's round again. And he's down to P10.
What is going on this race?
This is a
What is
crazy
going
race
on
so
here?
far. Crazy race so far, and Tamino's tyres look extremely hot at the minute.
Yeah. He's got a time penalty as well for corner cutting.
Yeah, I think his tyres are too hot for him at the minute, and it's hard for him to control. And he's off into the gravel now, and this is just going downhill for Tamino.
What can Joseph Hales do behind the house? Keep it clean, boys. Let's go down to the first corner. Looks relatively tidy so far. The top for the fifth are bunching up so close. You can see the Aston Martin right behind the Alpine. They're running virtually nose to tail, and I have to say, fair play to all of them for keeping it relatively clean so far.
This is the deflated wee train.
All aboard.
And the top two are just running away from this. With all these battling, this is amazing for the top two, and especially seeing as over the top two in the championship. We're going to be gaining points on Mr. Wiggles as Joseph Hales runs wide there in Aqua Minerale. That could give a chance to Top Gun. Goes down the inside, going into Variante Alta, and it gets the move done. And Joseph is off the track again, and Joseph is struggling in this race.
He's going to lose
Mr.
out
Wiggles.
to Wiggles.
Yeah, down the inside, he's got good straight line speed though, Joseph. Going down into the Vatsa now. Can he get the move around the outside? No, he can't. Mr. Wiggles through. And IIRL looking down the inside into the Vatsa too. That would have been another great move by IIRL, pulling up on mistakes from Joseph. And they are now going down the long straight. Going down to turn 1 and turn 2. Well, technically turn 2. And IIRL
Top Gun goes ahead of the deflated wee.
It does, and up into P3.
Oh, well, look at the drive that IIRL just got off the back of the Tamburello chicane. Oh, they're doing so well not to go into each other. This is so close stuff. As Hissy and Flu are also joining the pack behind. So the gap between the top two versus Top Gun in third is something around 7 seconds. And those two are running away with this, as everyone below seems to be scrapping with each other.
And we could see Smaller Smiley joining in on this as well, on the medium tyres, so he could join in on this party. And we could see an even bigger train. This is a crazy race at the time being.
And we're only on lap 8, and we are expecting a change in weather. So, yeah, we saw, obviously, Tamino spinning, but he didn't quite register it at the time. But the gap between the top two is coming down ever so slightly. It's currently 1.7 seconds now between 1010 and John. But going back to the battle behind, we have Top Gun under pressure from Deflated Wee, who, the DRS beam as powerful as it is, should complete the move.
Top Gun does look to have good straight line speed though.
Yeah, that's right.
Very good straight line speed, and Deflated Wee's got a poor exit out of his chicane, and that could give the opportunity to Mr. Wiggles, who's right behind him. Stays behind for the time being sensible.
Deflated
Wee wide.
Oh, it's going to be close to Rantoso. Is he going to do it around the outside? He's hanging on to it. What a move from Mr. Wiggles.
He's doing what Charles Leclerc did to Magnussen. Around the outside.
Oh, look at this.
Oh, what a move.
That is absolutely brilliant stuff. And now he's lost out to Joseph Hales.
This battle
is absolutely unreal. This is brilliant stuff.
This battle is absolutely brilliant. I am loving this.
Oh, Joseph Hales spins!
Oh no, Joseph!
I don't believe it. Oh, that's such a shame. But at least unlike last week, he's still in the race.
He's gone around again though, and he's losing more time. And oh, that's so unfortunate for Joseph. We did see him struggling on traction, and I think the traction has just got too much to him. You never know with Joseph, he might have forgotten his tyre pressures once again.
Maybe.
IIRL then getting past the Deflated Wee, who didn't have any DRS on Mr. Wiggles. So that left him vulnerable, and that is the Red Bull now up into P5. Joseph Hales comes into the pit lane.
He's gonna have to pray for a safety car for him to turn this around.
Well, we never know. There is the wets. coming up, so we could see an optimal strategy from Jersey, so there's no point in him giving up just yet.
Absolutely not. It ain't over till it's over, as they say.
And I tell you what, Flim is doing lovely at the minute. He's only 5 tenths behind Deflated Wee. And this is a lovely race from the French driver. Oh, and Deflated Wee just running wide there again. But yeah, lovely race from Flim.
We have to say, Flu's been one of those drivers that we know he may not be in contention for a championship, but he's always there and he's always keeping it relatively clean and consistent. So I agree with him being a 7th at the moment, and with everyone else making mistakes around him, he's looking good for a high placing finish here.
Yeah, he's been very consistent this season with Flu, and we're seeing it once again. He's keeping it clean, keeping it a straight line, no penalties so far, and this could be a good result for the Alpine driver.
But if there's anyone who needs a good result right now, it's Mr. Wiggles, currently 3rd in the championship, and that was not the start that he needed at all. He's been off track twice, and is currently 10 seconds back from the lead, so he's got to pray either a change of conditions or the safety car brings him back into contention for the win. As the race stays pretty much neutral between the top two, it's still 2 seconds, very, very close to what you would expect from two leaders in real-life Formula 1. Well, John recovering very well for when he looked to be very rugged in qualifying, it has to be said. McLaren doing a very, very good job to stay with the leaders. Top Gun still in 3rd with 8 tenths advantage over Mr. Wiggles.
Yeah, Mr. Wiggles wanting to stay in that DRS range of Top Gun and will be wanting to get the move done if he can. But definitely wanting to try and get back onto the podium position if possible. Deflated Wee then 5 tenths behind the Red Bull. He's got the DRS, not much ERS, but neither does IIRL S4. And Deflated isn't quite close
Wiggles
enough.
has lost it!
Oh!
He's gone round. He's gone off the track again, so that's the 3rd time.
Commentator's curse.
And as...
Commentator's curse.
I'm not taking the fault for that one.
That is both of us. Commentator's curse.
Yeah, if you say so, I guess.
It just isn't going right for Mr. Wiggles at the minute. He's had 2 spins and 1 off the track moment with Deflated, and that is him now back down to 8th, and he's going to have to recover once again. And Smaller Smiley is right in the back of him as well.
Yeah, that gives Top Gun as well a bit of a breather, but Smaller Smiley's tyres could be starting to fall off the cliff now, because it's that 12 out of 32. Normally, if this were a dry race, you'd think about putting on the hards in a couple of laps. Sun God does not approve. Sun God says commentator's curse does not exist.
It does.
Well, it doesn't for me.
Well, I'm saying it does.
Yeah, well, commentator's curse is another way of saying porcupines.
Deflated Wee just keeps gaining down this straight, but he just can't seem to get close enough to the Red Bull. And I think he's...
Well, everyone's flashing at the moment, so everyone's quite low on energy.
Yeah, it's a very hard track to save up the ERS, and I'm sure Deflated is just getting a little bit frustrated at the minute.
Well, he's got to remember, he's currently in 5th. He's just got to keep it clean and consistent, and he'll be on for a good result. As we've seen with so many people on track right now, mistakes happen so frequently around here. The gap with the lead has gone up to 2.4 seconds, so it looks like 10-10 staking his claim. Been very consistent so far in this race. Top Gun still 7.3 seconds back from John, with IIRL S4 slowly making inwards as well. Let's see what Deflated Wee does coming through the next set of corners. Almost like he cut the first Ravazza there.
7 tenths behind on this time. Possibly using a bit of ERS now and DRS. Small Smiley does come into the pit lane. Oh, and Hissy and Wiggles. Is he going to, Wiggles going to the inside and getting moved on quite easily on the Alfa Romeo. And I think Hissy has gone a little bit under the radar on this race so far, and he is up 4 positions so far, so that is a good drive from Hissy, and Flew has got up 7 positions this race.
So it just goes to show those who are just keeping it clean and losing that extra 10th or so are keeping it relatively steady. As you see, Richie has made a mistake in the Haas. Keeps
Turn
the car...
2. Or turn 3.
Yep.
It's technically turn 3
out...
that corner because there's a little kink on the straight which they class for some reason as a corner.
Yeah, the FIA's interpreted... Oh, deflated wheel just gets his first time penalty.
That could be costly. Yeah, it's...
That will currently put him...
Go on.
They'll currently put him in 7th place. But then again, this is only lap 15. Much more time to go.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to pull out 3 seconds on Southern Wiggles though, because they are talented drivers, as we know. Which then with a 3-second time penalty, and the time penalties are starting to creep in now.
Yep. Another mistake from Deflated. It goes wide off the Variante Villeneuve.
Ooh, Tamino and that guy getting close to each other. Tamino trying to recover. Going to the outside of Tozer. Can't get the move done on the outside, but he is very close behind the Williams driver.
Of course, with a lot of ground to make up as well. He was originally in the fight for the lead, which looks like 1010 has got a pretty good stronghold on at the moment. The gap has gone up to 3 seconds. And Top Gun, the gap between him and John John is staying more or less the same. Wiggles gets his first time penalty, but at the moment will drop him down to 8th. As the Ferrari of Tamino goes wide there, and so it doesn't look like he...
I don't think he lost any time.
Yeah. So he didn't lose time, but he didn't really gain much of an advantage either. As that guy stays out. I wonder where everyone's going to start coming in to change tyres. As Tamino goes round to the inside, and that's a pretty simple move done there for the Ferrari.
Ferrari on a recovery drive. Oh, that guy sliding through turn 1 there. Very good catch by the Williams driver.
Would have looked nice in the slow-mo, wouldn't it?
It would indeed. It would. I need an edit on it. Greg is right on the back of TRC Deaton, who is in P12 now. And Greg in P13 in the McLaren.
Yeah, Deaton still struggling again to get used to this no-tier format. However...
Ooh. You just see him run wide
as soon as I say that, he gets a...
It's
just to say that, he gets a time penalty.
I tell you, commentator's curse.
It's not a thing. Okay, what you say is absolute porkies, my friend.
Oh, and Greg got a very good run there out of Variante Alta.
Yeah, very tidy, very tidy.
Very tidy indeed, and he is only 3/10 behind the Red Bull now. And if you saw this in real life, you thought we'd be lying.
Doesn't look like Deaton can fight this one. McLaren goes down to the inside, and he'll have the preferred line going into the corner, and Greg moves up to 12th. As Wiggles has caught up to the back of Flo. And doesn't look like it's raining yet. This is lap 17. Spark, are you sun god in disguise? Might be. I don't have that thick of a beard though. Another 3-second penalty for Tamino. As the gaps are starting to stabilise up front, 2 seconds between each particular car, and now we have. This is probably the closest battle that we've got on track at the moment. Wiggles versus Flu.
I will be back in a second, Spark.
All right. So there we have the Alpine ahead of the Mercedes. Mercedes goes round to the outside. Can the Alpine fend him off? Oh, that's going to be close, and almost they make a little bit of contact going through the Tamburello. However, the Alpine just about stays ahead with Hissi now coming to the party. Late turn in there from the Alpine, and you can just tell the Mercedes of Mr. Wiggles has hooked up a little bit more nicely than the Alpine. However, the exit wasn't particularly great. I think being brave considering the incidents, he's got to be brave. He's got to make up those positions on a track where it's so difficult to overtake. But Flu's doing well to keep things tidy. Just at the moment, we're waiting for TNT to come back. Oh, it's a little bit of a wide exit there. Colucci gets a 3-second time penalty in the Ferrari. And that's going to give Hissi potentially a run at the Mercedes. Into the Ravazza we go. Now, Flo needs good drive out here. Doesn't look like he's got it. And yes, this could all change with the rain indeed. The Alpine knows he's coming, goes to the inside to try to cover. DRS is so powerful here. Goes round to the outside, but it doesn't look like the Mercedes is going to fight that one too much. Positions haven't changed, but the Alpine feeling the need to defend itself against the Mercedes coming into the next corner. And look at this, Mr. Wiggles trying so hard. Yep, you would need mistakes here to pass, absolutely. But DRS is very powerful. As long as you've got the energy as well to use, DRS can be effective as long as you're close enough. And especially without the wet, that is absolutely right. And with rain potentially coming, I mean, it's lap 19 at the moment. I can't see any raindrops on the cars, but the clouds are starting to darken. And look how close he's gotten to that car. And the Haas, I think, of Richie has gone off. Will stay on board with the Alpine. Yellow's in sector 2. And looking at the run that Mr. Wiggles has got, this should be a very comfortable overtake for him. Now, everyone looks to be stretching it out in terms of when they can pit before the rain comes down, it seems. They also know more than we do on the commentary box. But Mr. Wiggles now moves up into 6th place in what has been a fairly tumultuous event for him, it has to be said.
Apologies.
You caught us at just a good time where Wiggles has just overtaken the Alpine of Flu, who is coming under attack from Hissi, 82 champion. Gap has stabilised up at the front between 10-10 and John. It's actually, when I say stabilised, it's 4.7 seconds.
Top Gun's caught like John a little bit.
Yeah, so it looks like John is having a little bit of trouble. May have made a couple of mistakes up front. But coming on to lap 20 and no one's pitted yet because, well, you think they'd be waiting for rain to come down. But so far, it hasn't really come down at all, has it? With 8 tenths back, Flo will have DRS to defend from Hissi. But what can the Alfa Romeo do to benefit? Might as well use that to save a little bit of energy. Not going to be able to make the pass, even though DRS is powerful. And the Alfa Romeo goes a little bit wide, as does the Alpine. But it looks like the field is starting to stabilise a little bit up at the top.
Yeah, Flo making a bit of a mistake there, so that's lost him out of the DRS. That could make him vulnerable to Hissi and Tamina. And it is getting darker now, so I think we could see some wet weather coming in soon.
Everyone's starting to stretch their tyres, aren't they?
Yeah, them hard tyres are going to be screaming now to get off the car. But you need to stay on them, because if this wet weather does come, then
that's about 20 seconds you've lost.
Yeah, I think it's about 30 seconds in this pit lane. If you look where Small Smiley is, he's down in 14th, and he was up in 9th, 10th position. So,
oh yeah, because the pit lane here is about as long as the Mercedes wheelbase.
Yeah.
So
and as long as Valtteri Bottas' pit stop in Monaco.
Yeah, it took them 2 days to get that wheel off.
Indeed it did. Oh, is he looking to the inside there? Oh, and just making a mistake there, and that could give the opportunity to Tamino, which it does. Around the outside of turn 4, and that is Tamino up into P8. And everyone seems to get
round the outside.
Alpine
round
now.
the outside.
Good job, lovely. If we get copyrighted now, that is your fault.
It's like commentator's curse. It don't exist, mate. Because what I'm doing is fair use. Take that.
Tell you what, Top Gun has got really good pace here. John is losing time to 10-10, and Top Gun is catching up to John. So John needs to get a little bit of a move on here, otherwise he could be getting close to Top Gun as John picks.
It's starting to rain.
And it is literally just started to rain. Now what does John do? He's gone on to Inters already. That is very, very bold. Because I don't think it's wet enough yet. And Diaz has been disabled already.
So, it could be a blinder there from John.
Normally, when DRS is disabled, that means wet tyres are the right tyre. But for me, this track
doesn't look wet out there. It's dry.
It doesn't look wet enough. So 10-10 could still be on to be in the lead here. If you can just keep it straight. The gap from John to Top Gun is 21.5, and it is getting wet now. So 10-10 is going to lose the time through this final sector. But as we know, 10-10 had about a 6-second lead to John. So I think 10-10 might be okay. But I think Top Gun could...
They're all coming in now. They're all coming in.
Top Gun is definitely going to be vulnerable to John. He was behind already. But I think he's definitely going to be vulnerable. And I think this game has kind of screwed over IIRL. Oh, Top Gun 5 seconds in the pit lane there. And I think this game has kind of screwed IIRL because I know that IIRL didn't want to be on the mediums. He definitely wanted to be on the inters. And let's see where John is compared to 10-10. 10-10 is coming out of a pit lane now. And yeah, I think he's gained a bit of time to 10-10, which he has.
Probably gained about a second, I think.
Yeah, but 10-10 staying out a lap longer hasn't affected him too much. But I tell you what, this spray is it's a big spray at the minute already, and we've literally just come out of a pit lane. IIRL has gone into wet tyres.
As Richie makes a mistake, that's 4 seconds. IIRL goes on to full wets.
Could we be seeing it go into full wets now?
It's not full wet weather though.
It could be, because it was meant to be heavy rain. So we'll just have a see how IIRL is through these first couple of corners. To be honest with you, I wouldn't say this is a bad decision.
Well, let's see if it pays off for him.
Because if you go on board and look at this spray, that is... I've never seen wet spray that big.
I'm not getting that on my screen.
Well, I'm getting massive amounts of spray for me.
Where that's happening. Well, those wet tyres don't quite look to be working. He's dropped, because IIRL J has dropped, in fact, he's dropped nearly a second to Colucci. So it could be a case where he suffers now and the wets pay him back later. But IIRL J, that was not the stop that he needed. Like, going on to medium tyres, I imagine, was not what he wanted at all.
No, the mediums definitely isn't what he wanted. And he comes into the plate, speeds in and retires. It's
And that's
not
a shame.
nice. It's not nice to what we want to see.
But anywho, there's still a race going out on track, and as you'll see, the Mercedes of Wiggles versus the Ferrari of TB8 Tomino, they're right neck and neck with each other as that guy gets a time penalty. 1010 is building the gap once more to John in front, and Top Gun is about 7 seconds back as well, so he's lost 2 seconds from the back of John. But John has only made up a little bit of time given the last couple of laps. Let's see what the Ferrari does against the Mercedes here, though.
It is going to be harder to overtake with no DRS. I think he is going to try for the move.
He goes down the inside. Both guys are short in energy, and the Ferrari goes ahead.
He just broke so much later.
Lovely move.
I don't know why this spray is like so bright on my screen, but it makes it so hard to see.
Yeah, the spray here it's a madness. It's almost like watching an engine failure.
It might as well be at this point. Ooh, Tomino with a bit of a snap there. I'll tell you what, I give credit to 1010 John and Flew. No penalties. And on this track, that is extremely hard to do.
Very consistent.
When I think Padge has gone around again.
Yeah, that's
3.
a shame.
He's been struggling with turn 3 for a couple of practice stuff that we've done. So it's unfortunate to see Padge struggling a little bit.
Crucially, Top Gun has got... Yeah.
Hissy to the outside.
Blue's
Can't
ahead.
get the move.
The way things stands with penalties, Wiggles is actually ahead of Tomino.
We'll pull the penalties up now. Penalties. Top Gun has 5 seconds. Deflated and Tomino have 6 seconds. Hissy going around it outside of Flew there. Can't get a move done. But yeah, Wiggles will be in front of Tomino's. Whether Wiggles can get close enough to deflate it, and if he can, that'll get Mr. Wiggles a P4. Oh, Hissy down the inside. Oh, that's a lovely move.
Minerale, look at that. Lovely.
Whether he can get the traction now. And he has done. He's got in front. That's a lovely move.
Oh, but he has to go off track.
Ooh.
He's outbraking himself, so I think he'll have to allow him through.
He does. And that could leave him vulnerable to that guy now.
As that guy goes wide of the Williams. Mistakes are starting to creep in again, guys.
It's so wet. As we said in qualifying, wet can mix up the grid.
Consider the grid mixed up.
It is indeed. Smaller Smiley, Joseph. Down at the back. Yeah, I wouldn't have expected that especially.
No. I have to say, Joseph Hales needed a good result because of what happened, obviously, last time out in Belgium. But on-track incidents happen in motor racing. It happens. But they're down on 13th. He was doing so well, and just a couple of mistakes sadly cost him. Another time penalty for Mr. Wiggles. And that evens things up. Cachet also with a time penalty.
We'll just go on board with his race leader for a little bit. He's got very under the radar, but we haven't actually needed to watch him. That's how good he's been. 7 seconds out in the lead in the wet, and you can't say he's put a foot wrong.
No, it's been genuinely brilliant so far. Consistency, no one's been in. The smaller Smiley comes into the pits to retire. With 3 laps to go, it's looking like a fairly dominant win so far for the Williams.
I think it just sums up 10-10 season sort of. Are just consistent. Keep it in a straight line and it keeps going.
I think he's already had 2 wins this year, both at Belgium and France, and this will be number 3 in 6 races. So he would have won half the races this year, alongside John, who's also won 1, and John's won 2, and Wiggles has won 1 as well. This is going to put an even tighter stranglehold on the championship. We still have 10 races to go, but 10-10, this has been a fantastic performance as of yet.
Flew then losing time to Hissy once again, and we could see a round 2 between the Alpine and the Alfa Romeo.
Does that rain look heavier to you?
It does. It certainly looks heavier.
It looks almost full wet weather.
And when I'm behind Hissy, it looks like it's just in the heavens with this spray. I really don't know why it's so bright on my screen for some reason. I can't go on board because I literally cannot see a thing.
Thankfully you got me for that. If only we could do that for the viewers. As Hissy versus the Alpine. It doesn't look like he's going for the move now.
It just doesn't have the straight line speed as Hissy. He just can't catch it up enough, but it looks really, really good in the corners. So I think Hissy just has to go for a move.
You need downforce around this track though.
Yeah, I think Hissy just has to go for an unexpected move on Flew if he wants to get it done.
But even if he does make the overtake, it'll be a bit pointless because Flew doesn't have 3 seconds of penalties like Hissy does.
It's all about pride though, isn't it? You want to be in front on track.
Pride matters more than penalties, said Pastor Maldonado.
Oh, he tries to go around the outside this time.
Of Agua Minerale, you'd be pretty ballsy to make that one work.
If anyone gets that move done, that is the overtake of the season. There you go.
So far.
No, it's guaranteed. Ooh, Flew a bit of a mistake there.
Bad exit for the Alpine.
This event trying to get down the inside, side by side.
Oh, he goes for it.
Gets a move done.
Lovely move.
Yeah, very good move.
That guy is right on the back as well.
Just whether Hissy can keep in front now. And he does look to be, and Flew looks to be vulnerable to that guy. Only a 10th.
This will be close.
Going into the first chicane. Flew manages to stay in front for the time being.
Flew goes wide.
Oh yeah. And that isn't going to be good if he wants to get P7. If Hissy can pull out a second in this last lap and a half, that gives Hissy the P7.
And just like that, it's... Oh, Hissy's made a mistake!
Oh, I tell you what. I tell you what.
What's that you were saying about commentators'
I
curse?
tell you what, if you can't believe commentators' curse is a thing now, it's happened 3 times in this race now.
I think with that we should... this is the worst time to follow the leader through the last lap. But we're going to go on board with 10-10 for the last lap because with all the mistakes happening across the field, this man has not put a foot wrong in what has been one of the trickiest races so far in this season. Comes down into Tosa as the rain starts to get even worse. Even if John made the earlier stop, he's pulled out another advantage over him as Owen Tamino goes off against a deflated Wii. But John threw everything he could at him. And it looks like the Scot, with 10-second advantage, is going to claim a very healthy and commanding win. Demon says boo to us, and to be honest, not quite sure. Commentators curses a lie, don't believe it. Williams comes round into the Ravazzas after the Charles Leclerc chicane.
So
He's been faultless.
So that's
from
the one.
Pole position. So from pole position to lights out to the win, it's been a commanding drive from 10-10, who wins the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix with a commanding advantage. John follows up behind in second place in the McLaren. He's done well to recover from was a hard qualifying. Top Gun claims third in the Aston Martin, so very consistent drive from him. Tamino, it looks like he's going to recover to fourth and spins over the line with deflated Wii coming in fifth, Wiggles in sixth. He'll be ruining that mistake from himself at the start of this round where he lost so many places. And it looks like Richie coming across the back there. That guy comes across the line in seventh, but he'll lose out to Flew, who finishes seventh as a result. Pissy, as a result of his incident, comes across in ninth. And then we'll have Colucci not too far behind in 10th place, rounding off the point scoring positions. What a race that was, eh?
Chaotic. Very chaotic. Don't forget about these guys, Spark. Take us through the last three.
Absolutely. We see Greg coming across the line in this McLaren. He's done well to keep everything pointing the right way. And we'll have Deaton finishing in P12 and Joseph Hales, who will be ruining the many mistakes that he made, sadly, to come across the line in 13th.
Give us some donuts, Joseph. You know you want to.
He's going to...
Give us donuts. Hooray!
If that's a donut, that's more like a half-eaten bagel. And the game decides Greg gets driver of the day, but however, it's pretty clear to me 10-10 gets driver of the day. Just absolutely faultless from my perspective. What do you think, TD?
Accident. Actually, I didn't mean to skip the podium. I apologise, Padge. I will give it to 10-10, but I'll give Flew a close second.
Agreed.
Because Flew was just consistent the whole race, but no one could match this man, who gets another win and extends his championship lead. And that extends it to 16 points, I think it is, which is very healthy. John coming in P2. What's the word? Reducing the damage that it could have had in the championship. Tamino P4, recovering, deflated P5, Mr. Wiggles in P6, Flew in P7, that guy in P8, Hissy in P9, and Colucci in P10. When we next get him racing.
Yeah, literally. And not spent 900 million on players.
Well, there we have it, guys.
That was
Another
very fun.
fun race from No Assist.
Very fun, and It just likes to make me out of breath for a minute. That's all No Assist seems to do. Just seems to make me out of breath.